What's going on, everybody? This video is going to be a little different than usual for one simple reason. I recorded the entire thing before I realized that my voice recording didn't record. Apparently at some point I changed the input source for my voice recording over to a different input source to record something else and never changed it back. Didn't notice for the entire episode. So what I'm trying to do here is finish my aqueduct. Last time we built this aqueduct in this farm system. The aqueduct kind of feeds the water into the farms. Looks great, works great, but it just kind of dead-ended. And I wanted to carry it all the way out to the ocean. And so in between episodes, I dug out this little river. And as you can see, the river goes all the way out to the ocean. Pretty simple stream. It's like 2-3 blocks wide most of the way. And then what I'm doing now is just extending the existing aqueduct until it gets to this little pond that then goes out to the actual river ocean path. So basically it's an aqueduct that ends in a waterfall that goes into a river that leads out to the ocean. All in all, I think it looks pretty cool. I was really happy with how it turned out. Some other work that I did between episodes, which you can kind of see in this beginning section of the video, was I'd mentioned that I liked this farm and aqueduct system, but one of the problems that I had with it was kind of hard to get back and forth from one side to the other because the aqueduct was in the way. So I kind of broke down the walls every here and there and just put some acacia trapdoors in the middle to act as a sort of bridge. And this still allows the water to flow under the trapdoor, so it's not cutting off the water, but allows you to walk across the aqueduct to get from one side to the other. That has helped tremendously. It's so much easier to use this farm now. You can also tell that the crops have grown quite a bit. I'd let a lot of time pass so I could grow everything, harvest everything, replant it, extend the crops to fill up the whole space. So that's been done. I've even started to compost some of the crops to get bone meal so I can get more flowers, so I can grow trees and do other stuff, you know, the sort of things you do with bone meal. So what I want to work on today is actually building a sheep farm to get wool. One of the problems that I've had in this world is just a lack of good resources. I'm trying to do different stuff. I'm trying to build with different materials, and I just don't have a whole lot yet, but wool's really easy to get. And so as you can see, I've been breeding up some sheep. I've dyed them different colors so I can get some different color wool. And you can just kind of put them in a pasture like I have here and just let them roam around free, but this isn't very good for getting lots and lots of wool. The more sheep you have, the harder it is to kind of shear them, the more grass that they eat. You can kind of see I put some vines in to get in and out, and the sheep are kind of starting to climb it. It doesn't look very nice, so I want to build an actual sort of structure sort of thing to put them in. However, one of my challenges for this season has been like no automatic farms. I'm not going to do an automatic sheep farm where you put the sheep in there and they get sheared by observers and dispensers and all that. I can't do that. No auto redstone farms like that. So I've got to do something a little bit different. So what I've come up with over here, and I kind of had to get a head start because sheep need grass. They need grass in order to grow their wool, and I want this thing to be kind of up in the air, and I don't have a silk touch pickaxe right now, or silk touch anything, not just pickaxe, shovel, hoe, anything. I can't get grass blocks. So the only way to get the grass where I need it is to kind of build these things out of dirt, which I did, and then I've got these little stair steps of grass that lead from the grass on the ground up to the dirt in the air, and I just let it kind of sit there over time for a while, and the grass eventually spread up the little stair steps of dirt onto the strips of dirt, which is where the sheep are actually going to be. So that's why this thing looks really weird and crazy right now, as the grass worked its way up there. And now we don't need these little stair steps of grass, so we can break those down. The grass on top will remain grass until, you break it or a sheep eats it or something. So what I'm planning on doing over here is getting the sheep up top here, and it turns out if a mob like a sheep or a cow or something is 4 blocks above the ground, then they won't walk off of it. If they're 2 blocks or 3 blocks up, they actually will walk off. But if they're 4 blocks up, like I've got this little row of dirt here, then they'll actually just stay there. And so I can actually get the sheep up here and keep them up there without having to use walls or fences or glass or anything like that, just because of how high off the ground it is. So the plan is to get the sheep up here And right now I've got a solid row of dirt. I need to do that to get the grass to spread, but eventually I'm going to put a sheep on each, like every other block of grass. And so there will be a block of grass and then air, and then block of grass, air, block of grass, air, and the sheep will be standing on the blocks of grass, and then they'll just kind of stay there. There will be nothing holding them in place, no walls or fences or anything, just gravity and physics and the rules of Minecraft will make sure that they don't go anywhere. So over here I've got a single solitary lead, and I've been trying to stick to my original challenges, one of which was not to kill any mobs if I don't absolutely have to. Well, you can only get leads from two places, either from killing a wandering trader like I've got right over here, or by killing slimes and using the slime balls to make them yourselves. Well, I feel like I found a little loophole in that challenge, and that is you can set up circumstances that will result in a mob dying without actually like hitting them with a sword or anything like that. This is easy to do with blocks like sand or gravel or water. There are ways that mobs can die without you directly killing them, and so I feel like I'm still honoring that challenge by getting leads from wandering traders without actually hitting them with a sword or axe or anything. So we'll use a lead, we'll use some wheat, we'll lure a couple of sheep up here. It doesn't matter if you do it one at a time or if you get 2 or 3 that follow you. You know, it's hard to keep all the sheep in one place and only get 1 or 2 out. And so what we're going to do is we'll get the sheep down to the very end, which can be kind of hard to do when you're working in a small space like this. We're going to get a sheep down to the very end of the dirt here. And once we've got him in place, then we'll break the block next to him, and then he should stay on that one block forever unless you or someone else like pushes him off, but he's not going to walk off. So we don't need to surround him with walls or fences or anything. That sheep is now just going to stay there. So we'll get the second sheep up here, we'll put him on what is now the end of this row of grass, and we'll do the same thing. So I ran into a little snag here. I should have thought about this ahead of time, but as you can see, when the sheep eat grass, which they have to do to regrow their wool, it turns back into dirt. And now that I've got this block of air in between them, then the grass isn't going to spread back to that dirt. I did have a plan for this, I just didn't execute it before moving the sheep in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over 1 and up 2 like this, and we're just going to create another row of dirt that's above the sheep. This way the sheep can't like climb up onto it to get out. But with the mechanics of Minecraft and how grass spreads, when this row of dirt turns into grass, which we'll have to put down some little blocks of dirt like this so that the grass that we're standing on can spread up there. But when it does turn into grass, then that grass can actually spread to the blocks of dirt that the sheep are standing on. It's close enough, it's within range. And so this top row will stay dirt and will seed the grass that the sheep are on to turn it back into grass over time. Alright, so I got my sheep all moved over here. I only started with 5 or 6, and so I had to breed them up while I was doing this. And so that's why I've got so many white sheep over here now. But I did get them all moved in. I'm not trying to get one of every color. I believe there's like 15 different dye colors in the game, and so I've only got like 10 or 12 sheep over here. But that's fine. I'm not trying to get all the colors. What I'll probably end up doing is just dyeing a few of them whatever color I want for a project, and then, you know, shearing all of them. As you can see, the grass up top did all turn into grass from the original dirt, and so now I can come break every other block, so there's that gap of air, just like I did with the sheep. I'm trying to be very minimalistic with this build. I want there to be only the minimum number of blocks necessary to make it work, and so that's why I've got the air in between the sheep so that they don't wander off and that they stay on the block that they're on. But that's also why I am breaking the blocks on the top in between the sheep, is to just, you know, to make it look kind of goofy, because it is kind of a goofy build. We're building a sheep farm with the sheep standing on one block of dirt each. So now that we've got all the sheep moved in, we need a way to actually get around and shear them, and I want to create like a rail system for that. And I'm actually going to use a couple different color wools to build this thing. I think it'd be nice to build the rail system out of wool for this wool farm. So I've got a couple different colors here. This is why my original sheep were dyed different colors. I'd done this to shear them to get the wool that I need to build this thing. I'm mostly going to use white just so that it's not all like every other block is different color. But I'm also going to mix in some yellow, some purple, some light blue, some red, a little bit of black, just so we have a nice fun colorful rail line here. And there we go. So that finishes up. That's actually really cool. It looks really cool. It's nice and bright and colorful, and it's a lot of fun. So now can work on the rail line. We're going to start with some powered rails, but I don't have a whole lot of powered rails because I only have a little bit of gold, so I'm not going to put too many of these in here. I think I can get by with maybe just kind of one on the side. We'll do 1 or 2 on the end here, and then maybe 1 on the other side as well. We'll use 2 to kind of get us going, but I'm going to try to conserve the powered rails as much as possible. So it's just a short little loop. And then for the powered rails in the middle here, I'm going to put a lever next to those and flick it on so that these are always going to be powered on. And so they're always going to be on. But for the ones at the start, what I want to do is these are going to be off by default. And we're going to put a block next to that with a button on it. So here's our button. And so when we put a minecart down, the powered rails, when they're powered off, will act as brakes. And so we won't go shooting around or anything until we are ready. So we will hit the button, we'll go flying around, we'll shear all the sheep as we pass them, and then when we get back to the beginning, we will stop. We'll probably have to do this like 2 or 3 times because with how fast you go, it's kind of hard to shear all the sheep in one go. I've got a couple dyes on me here since I've got a bunch of white sheep from breeding. I'm going to go ahead and dye some of them red and yellow. And then I'm also going to come back with some light blue wool as well. These are some colors I'll probably end up using for an upcoming build. And so now I think we are ready to actually test this thing out. So we'll hop in the minecart, we'll hit the button, and kind of missed the timing on that. I forgot to actually go before the powered rails turn back off. That's the only downside with this, is since you're not up against a block, you do have to sort of move yourself to get going first. So we'll try this again. We'll get going and we'll just shear all the sheep as we go flying by. And yeah, we missed a few, so we're gonna have to go around a second time. We'll apparently go backwards this time and we'll try to get the rest. So for collection, it's actually pretty easy. After we shear all the sheep, then we'll just drop down and pick up all the wool that fell off. There may be some wool that ends up like staying up on the blocks that the sheep are standing on. That shouldn't happen too often, but it can happen. And so what we may end up doing is I'll just build like a little walkway behind all the sheep. For now, I'll just do this with purple wool. Maybe I'll come back and replace it with something else in the future. But since I built the rail line out of wool, I might as well build this with wool as well. So we'll do a little pathway behind the sheep that we can walk back and forth and collect any wool that lands on their blocks. But because the grass blocks are in the air behind the sheep, they can't get off onto that walkway and escape. So we can see some of the sheep have already regrown their wool, so we'll go back around again and we'll shear those sheep. And yeah, this is basically our new wool farm. So that's going to wrap things up for today. Thank you all so much for watching. This is a very different build from what I normally do. Any of you who've been watching me from season 1, season 2, you know that I don't really like to just have things floating up in midair. I like to actually build structures that look nice. I like to integrate them into the base somehow. And so this is just very strange to have a bunch of sheep floating in the air on a single block of grass and to have this little rail system to go around and shear them all. But at the same time, it's very fun. It's very silly, which in a way kind of is me. So I had a lot of fun working on this build. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And while you're down there, feel free to subscribe so you'll get notified of future episodes as they come out. Thanks y'all and have a great day.